Hi, and welcome back. So when we finished up last time, we were on this slide looking at internal rate of return and various returns from IRR. I'm going to do a little demo on how you do IRR and NPV calculations in Excel. It's quite simple. Hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate it with a live Excel sheet for you to see. When you do it in Excel, you have your investment. This is not one of the investments we just looked at, but you've got a 5 years here plus an investment. We can calculate IRR, 16%. We can calculate net present value using a 7% hurdle rate, and we get $182. Those are the same numbers, basically. This is going to be the amount in excess of 7%, and this is the total annual return using an internal rate of return. So I'm going to do this, and I'm also going to post an Excel sheet to your Canvas account so you can see the formulas, but I'm going to walk you through it on an Excel sheet in just a minute here. Once you've calculated your information, so you've got IRR here, you've got paybacks, 2, 3, 1, and so forth. Once you've calculated that, you can rank your projects. So you're ranking your projects based on which one is best. And in this ranking, if we're using IRR, we're going to say project 4 looks the best. Let's do project 4. And if we have the resources to do 2 projects, we might want to do project 4 and project 1. Then we do 2, and then we do 3. All of them exceed our minimum hurdle rate. So they all work, but they definitely have different internal rates of return. This one is going to return a much higher investment return than this one. So this one is less attractive. So let's do the best one. And then if we have time and effort and resources, the second best one, the third best one, the fourth best one. If one of these ends up in a negative number below 6%, or whatever our hurdle rate might be, then we would say it doesn't make sense to do this because we're not going to get a return that works for us. So that's kind of the ranking process. So we generally want to choose the projects with the highest IRR, or the IRR that at least exceeds weighted average cost of capital plus risk. If it doesn't exceed weighted average cost of capital plus risk, you've got essentially a loser. You don't want to do it. So now I'm going to switch over to an Excel sheet and reposition the camera here a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. So this is just a screenshot of what was on the PowerPoints we just looked at for these projects. Now let's see if we can calculate our net present value return, and we're going to use a 6% hurdle rate. So first of all, how do I find, me down here somewhere, how do I find net present value formulas in Excel? Well, if I go to Excel and I type in here NPV, it immediately goes and finds the NPV formulas, which are built into Excel. So I'm going to click on that, say OK, and it brings up a box. And it's looking for my hurdle rate to begin with. And we used a 6% hurdle rate in the lecture, so let's put a 6% hurdle rate in there. And then here it's looking for what are the inflows that I need to measure. And it assumes that the one at the top is the closest year 1, and then it goes down and it assumes each one of these is one period beyond that. So year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. We're going to select those. Oops. New. Going to, hopefully, there we go. Select those 4, and that is the 4 that we're going to look at. We're going to click it, and lo and behold, there is my net present value of those 4 cash flows for those 4 years, $250 a year for 4 years at a 6% discount rate. I can then take this over here, and it tells me my net present value for each one of these, 250, 150, 350, 600. Now you'll notice the net present value is always less than the total amount I received, because money that's received after day one, all of this money in this case, this is at the end of year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4, has less value than the money than money today. So this is NPV of cash flows. Now, when we're doing NPV, we have to subtract our, so this is value in excess of investment. If I could spell, it would be really good. So this is my value in excess of investment. So what is that? That is this plus my negative investment. Oops, we don't want to do that. Back. Sorry. This equals this plus negative 500. So that's my value in excess of investment. Anything that in net present value calculations, anything that has a positive value is something that exceeds the hurdle rate, the NPV of cash flows at a 6% hurdle. So we have a 6% hurdle. That's my net present value of cash flows at a 6% hurdle. And we're done. We know what our NPV is, and I don't know how to stretch that out. Okay, so that's that. And then the IRR is very similar, but not quite the same. So IRR for these investments is going to be up here, and we're going to once again go to the function key. Function key, we're going to type in IRR. It comes up with IRR, hit return, comes up with IRR. Select IRR, and here it just wants values. It doesn't need a hurdle rate. It just needs the values. And what are the values? They have to include the initial investment. So the program here, or the formula here, assumes that this initial investment is made in year 0 at the beginning. And then it assumes here's years 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to do this. And we're going to hit OK. And it tells us 35%. I put it in the wrong box. So let's copy and paste. Nope. Oh, wait a minute. Nope. Let's start over here. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that, and you get to see me do it again. Okay, let's get it in the right box. So here's the function key for IRR. The values are these values. And we hit OK. Put it over here so you can see it. OK. Oops. And we have a 35% return. And if I drag this to the right, I'm going to get my returns for each and every one of the investments. So the net present value is 638 on this one. That's the highest. And the return on investment, the IRR, is 44%, which is the highest. So the ranking is the same. The methodology is the same between this and this. This is just a little bit easier to understand for most people. I got to get a 44% return here and a 9% return here. 44% is better than 9. Easy to understand. Most companies who use this generally set a minimum internal rate of return. So they say we need to make at least 6%, or we need to make at least 10% or 15% or 18%. Can be anything, but that's set by the corporate, set at corporate, and it is based on WACC and risk. It's based on weighted average cost of capital and the risk factor. So I need to return X percent to make an investment worthwhile, and we're going to rank our investments using that. So it's the same process as NPV, a little bit easier to understand. The mathematics is slightly harder because it is an iterative process. You have to do a formula and get closer and closer and closer to the right number. In Excel, that's really easy. It does it for you. So this is definitely the preferred rate for most companies these days. So let's just look at a couple more things. Let's do some what ifs here. What if I change this one and say I'm going to get $300. This $300 I'm not going to get here, I'm going to get here. What does that do for me? Oh, it increases my rate of return to 28% because I'm getting the money sooner. So money that comes in sooner is better than money that comes in later. I got this 2 years earlier, and that improves my internal rate of return and my NPV, excess over hurdle rate. So you can play what ifs here quite easily. I can also say, well, this one required a bigger investment, so it required negative $700. Whoop. All of a sudden, this doesn't look so good. It requires a bigger investment, so therefore the internal rate of return goes down and the NPV goes down. So as things change, the various processes change. So there's lots of different ways to do this, but once you set up your process, it's pretty easy to do. So I'll post this Excel sheet to your Canvas page so you can actually see the formulas. And you do have an assignment that's going to require you to do this and some other things. So to make an investment decision, or to try to make an investment decision using discounted cash flow. And good luck with that problem. And there are some points attached to it as well. And that's going to be due a week from today. So good luck with that. And enjoy your week. Thanks a lot.